Well, good to have you again this week. How are you doing? It's Monday, and the month of November has finally got its very first Monday, and it's the time we're going to be experiencing it fully. Welcome aboard to Good Morning Uganda, and thank you very much for being part of us and waking up with us here on UBC. And in the same spirit, welcome back from the long weekend, which had quite a number of events within the country and out of it. But speaking of the many events that happened within the country, here in the Uganda region, for the many Masaza faithfuls, many Baganda were filling up or filled up the Mandela National Stadium on Saturday in the Masaza Cup finals, and in that way where the people of Budu went away more happier than their colleagues, those from Chagwe, which is the same area that I actually come from when it comes to the counties within Buganda Kingdom. But that is not the bigger highlight of the same, because the biggest highlight of that day was the fact that the King of Buganda graced the same ceremony. And of course, many of the Baganda people were really very excited to see their king back up and attending some of these social gatherings as much as they've been praying for. But that also said, in regards to matters, the Coffee Amendment Bill, the president has continued to come out and say that the rationalization is supposed to be happening simply because of how it is likely to be saving us from the various expenses. However much more of the discussions regarding more of the bills and the merger of quite a number of government agencies and departments is still ongoing. But that said, Good Morning Uganda is here, and I have Uncle Bob or Robert Chirabonyonyitono, who does join me here this morning to drive matters. Good morning, Uganda. Good morning, Uncle Bob.
Good morning, young lad. How are you?
I am well.
You're looking good.
You're looking better. That's a more, someone would say, ministerial coat.
Thank you so much. I take that as a prophecy.
Okay.
Yes, that you've prophesied this morning. Well, so much happened over the weekend, but today, countrywide, we are having over 700,000 students sit for PLE. So today we're having a very big national event for the 2 days, and they'll start with mathematics and SST. Now, I don't know if you have sent anyone a success card, because at that level that matters so much. Success cards, prayers, and of course ensuring that all is well. And we want to believe that Uganda National Examinations Board will deliver papers on time. The candidates will be there on time. Just to remind you, in case you're transporting candidates, that anybody who appears at a center 15 minutes past the start of time, they are not allowed into that hall. So in case you're driving your candidate, in case you're transporting any candidates, you must ensure that they are not 15 minutes late after the time of starting those papers, because the law is very clear. They will then not be given an examination paper. And we pray and also hope that we don't have incidents of malpractices, because these, over a time, it hurts whenever exams are finally out and you hear exams of 1,900 have been held due to suspicion that there were examination malpractices.
Well, indeed, we do not want to see some of those particular cases right from the lower level of education in primary, and it would look really absurd. And how our education sector is really, set up, you would not want to wish.
So did you send a success card?
I've been seeing these success cards, quite many of them, and I think there should be some regulation of a sort, because when you look at, we've been having this conversation about how some of these success cards also tend to depress some of the young children. Imagine if your parent has not been able to give you a great success card of, let's say, having lots of money or a money bouquet. You can only imagine the kind of pressure you have.
And these days it's a money bouquet.
A money bouquet. So you get into the examination hall where you're like, I think my parents don't love me enough.
And remember, these are really young students.
Yeah.
I think that is something UNEP should come out, or the Ministry of Education and Sports. I'm told at Senior 4, there's one who even did a success card of a car.
Of a car.
The Mark II. So
and after the student had to apologize on behalf of the school, saying it was not a success card as such, but it was because she works she does some influencing for that company, that car company, on social media. So that's why they decided to pay her in that way, to give her a success card of a car. But it had almost created room for conversation. Even the parents were a little bit worried.
Yes.
Wondering how...
Because first they were... well, wonders never cease to end in Uganda. There is everything new, but we must ensure that the foundations of education... That's why sometimes I like traditional schools. There are certain things that can never happen in traditional schools. I don't know if the money bouquets are happening there, but during our days, those that went to traditional schools, at the gate...
Robert, which traditional school did you go to?
I went to Ndeje Senior Secondary School.
Oh, I thought the one you normally speak highly
The
of.
A-level.
All right,
was a
and
traditional
away
school.
from that, let's get into some of the local news that we've gathered for you this morning.
And we'll begin with a sad note where lightning has killed 14 people and injured 37 others during a prayer service in Lamoille district. The incident occurred yesterday at around 5:30 p.m. at Church Zone 8 Block 2 of the Palace Settlement Camp, where people who were gathered for prayers and were worshipping during the rain started dropping the congregants with lightning. During prayers, the rain began approximately at about 5 and shortly after lightning struck. Now, the injured were shifted and evacuated to Palda Health Center 3 for urgent medical attention. Efforts to identify the victims are still ongoing. Over 798,000 candidates across the entire country will be writing their primary leaving examinations today. Now, according to UNEB, these exams will kick off with briefing of candidates today, the 4th of November this very year, and this will be happening and this will include over 15,000 PLE centers. For members of the public have been warned against examination malpractices, and pupils across the country will undertake their exams, but the public has been urged to desist from any form of malpractices. This year, over 798,000 candidates are registered to sit for PLE at 15,000 centers. The briefing kicks off today, and then we will have them sit for mathematics and SST, then Thursday science and English. The Lord Mayor of Kampala, Elias Lukwago, says all is set to release the 4.9 billion shillings for garbage management in Mukono, Entebbe and Menvu garbage site. While meeting the Kitezi landfill victims, the Lord Mayor Lukwago told UBC that out of the 4.9 billion, 2.5 will be earmarked for sensitization of the communities around the garbage collection site, and the balance will be for training garbage collectors. Government will release 4.9 billion shillings for garbage management at the site of Mukono, Entebbe and Menvu. The money will cater for sensitization of the communities surrounding these garbage collection sites and training of garbage collectors. During a meeting with Kitezi landfill victims, the Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago said that the money will be released soon. The Lord Mayor said that at least 4.9 billion shillings does not include compensation of the victims. He tasked all those still waiting for compensation to wait government's decision. Chadondo East Member of Parliament Mwadanku Nyingi urged victims to unite. Some of the victims called more government intervention into their matters. Kitezi landfill exploded in August this very year, killing over 30 people and displacing hundreds. And finally, from the local scene, the leaders of the Ateka border community comprising of Kenya's Turkana, Uganda's Karamojong, and South Sudan's Toposa and Dinka have signed a joint report resolving to foster peaceful coexistence, deepening cultural linkage, and amicably addressing community-based issues. This was during a sensitization baraza for Karamajong community in Moroto district, attended by top security leaders from Karamajong, political leaders from Karamajong, Turkana, Dinka, and Toposa, and locals from Karamoja. Three junction attacker communities of Uganda, Kenya, and South Sudan have lived in conflict with each other for a long time, and this has curtailed development. Last year, the border communities of Karamajong of Uganda, Turkana of Kenya, Toposa, and Dinka of South Sudan, with support from the East African Community Union and GIZ, visited the Maasai community of Kenya and Tanzania for experimental learning on how they live in peaceful and have managed to develop themselves. Leaders testified positive results since last year's experience. The border community sensitization session have been held in Moroto district with top security leaders from Karamoja, political leaders from Uganda, South Sudan, and Kenya, and Karachunas, elders from the 9 districts of Karamoja sub-region as well.
And away from that, we now turn our focus onto the international scene, starting off from the US elections, because more updates are coming in as for more than a year, Laila Elabd says that she and other Arab Americans have been at a collective funeral. Now, the Arab Americans are united in grief and divided on strategy, according to the latest reports coming in from there. According to Laila, we are grieving, we are frustrated, we are angry, we are also heartbroken. We feel betrayed, he said in an interview, finally taking a breath as she reflected on the Israelis' raging wars on Gaza and Lebanon. And now, with the bombs still raining down, she added that Arab American voters were being asked to hit pause their sorrow and cast a ballot on Tuesday for presidential candidates who do not have a plan to stop the killing. It is a sentiment that reverberates across the large Arab American community in the battleground state of Michigan, where Elabd has been a leader in the uncommitted movement, which has aimed to pressure United States President Joe Biden and his Vice President, Democratic contender Kamala Harris, to end their unwavering support for Israel. Now, Harris has promised to continue arming Israel while her Republican rival Donald Trump has a staunch pro-Israel record, despite his claims of wanting to bring peace to the region. And off to Israel now, because Israel attacks Gaza hospitals and kills 2 more medics in Lebanon. The Israel forces attacked the Kamal Adwan hospital in northern Gaza, severely wounding a child and damaging the facility's nursery, while an Israeli drone also fired on the gates and walls of the nearby Indonesian hospital. The World Health Organization reiterated its appeal for medical workers to be protected after Israeli forces raided a health center in southern Lebanon and killed 2 paramedics. Hamas official Osama Hamdan said talks among Palestinian factions in Cairo have been positive, but said that the group had not received any new written ceasefire proposals. Now, Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 43,341 Palestinians and wounded 105 since October 7, 2023. Now, an estimated 1,139 people were killed in Israel during the Hamas-led attacks that day, and more than 200 were taken under captivity. Now, in Lebanon, at least 2,897 people have been killed and 13,402 wounded in Israeli attacks since the war on Gaza began, the Lebanese Health Ministry says. And away from Israel, we now talk matters health, because the World Health Organization says almost 1 million Mpox vaccines have been allocated to Africa. The World Health Organization revealed this on Friday, saying that at least 1 million doses of Mpox vaccines have been allocated to 9 countries across the African continent. This follows the establishment last month of an access and allocation mechanism to support the equitable and timely access to Mpox vaccines in Africa. So, for more than 50,000 people who have been vaccinated against Mpox. Those alone are in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And then the others followed by those in Rwanda, thanks to the donations from the United States, the European Commission. This according to the World Health Organization Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom. Now, the announcement comes as the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa's CDC, said Mpox cases were showing a 500% increase from last year, now impacting 19 countries. Now, the World Health Organization declared Mpox a global health emergency in mid-August after a new strain, Clade 1b, began spreading from the Democratic Republic of Congo to neighboring countries. Now, the World Health Organization Director General said this week that the allocation of some 900,000 doses of vaccine will be based on public health, as it has been, especially those with significant transmission of the new variant that seems to be moving on across the African continent. And also more developments coming in from the international scene show that one journalist killed in every 4 days in 2022 to 2023, according to the latest report from the UN. It shows that a UNESCO report, 38% is the current percentage of the increase in journalist death, and urges governments to stop this level of impunity. Now, on average, one journalist was killed every 4 days, according to the UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that is UNESCO, in a report that was released on Saturday. At 162 deaths, the number of journalists killed while working leaped 38%, the report found, calling the increase an alarming one. And of course, I'll be taking a comment of Robert Chirabonyonyi after the press review. But let's check into what the press review is actually having this morning. The New Vision, Museveni warns MPs on the coffee bill, and the president promises legislators a showdown over the Uganda Coffee Development Authority merger. That report is with the New Vision today. Now, reforms, here is what informed the rationalization of agencies. Now, also Nankabira made lay canon, and that is a report that you can read from the New Vision today. Nankabira at the front page with President Museveni and some of the clerics from the Anglican Church. Then health, Uganda to carry out first liver transplant, huge milestone there. And elections, American elections are set for tomorrow. Find out how prepared the people in the US are. Then pass all-level mathematics is in today's New Vision as well. Now, the Daily Monitor, malnutrition is eating up kids. According to the Daily Monitor, there is a worrying report from the Ministry of Health stating that thousands of children are malnourished, with food insecurity, poor breastfeeding patterns and poverty, among others, and they are identified as catalysts. Where US poll will be won or lost, there is a report of that in the Daily Monitor. Then in healthy living, the link between malaria and sickle cell disease. Find out more of that in the Daily Monitor. Then the High Court directs URA on collecting pay-as-you-earn tax, and a new study gives hope to post-TB disease patients. Also, court dismisses 26-year NSSF Alcon compensation dispute. More of that report is in the Daily Monitor. Then lastly, from our press reviews, the Daily Nation, experts query Ruto's tax plan. Find out more. They say this fiscal year's ordinary revenue target of 2.6 trillion is a long shot. Now, how Ruto camp plots to win back the hostile Central. And then inside Kupet and Ruto's State House talks. More of that is in the Daily Nation. And lastly, America decides why Kenyan immigrants now live in fear. More of that is in the Daily Nation. Robert, I would like to pick your comment on this report of journalists. During your journalistic work, what was the most scary bit of it, especially while reporting on politics and matters to do with some investigative stories?
Well, I think the most was covering Chiseka riots. Remember those days we had riots in Chiseka, and it was one of the most dangerous areas. Because one time, I remember Andrew Sorowen was then, I think, the regional police commander, that is Kampala Metropolitan. So we go to Chiseka Market, because I don't know how government managed to cool that area, but it was very, very dangerous. So by then I was reporting for radio, so I had a mic, and you're putting it next to the person, and guess what came between us? An arrow. So people were rioting, but they had arrows.
And at any one moment you would also lose your life.
I think it was targeted to Andrew Soroweng, but remember I had a helmet on. Now here is a journalist who is totally only with a microphone and also a jacket. So that is what I would say was the worst. Then the other is a friend of mine tipped me over someone who was messing up a wetland. He was building a very powerful hotel, and they were putting maram in the wetland. So we went there, tried to do some covering, getting stories, and somehow, as we were moving away from the area, we were nabbed by officials. Now it wasn't easy. Our phones for some time taken, threatened. You're home, you receive a phone call, where I'm so and so, this is going to happen to you unless you drop the story, all that. But then the good thing is we had a syndicate with guys in international press.
Okay.
So if I couldn't run a story, I would send it to someone in the international press if they found interest in it. Or we would have connections with people in other media houses. So as long as the story was hitting up, even if personally would hold me, I would say I'm not the one. Maybe someone else did it. But one thing I learned is journalists, most of those were killed while on duty. Now, one important thing I learned, there is no story worth your life. Sometimes, and I'm not saying this in bad faith, sometimes journalists put themselves in harm's way. You want to get that superficial shot, maybe for award winning or for perfection of your story, but you're putting yourself in harm's way. It's very important that a good journalist is one who is living. Putting yourself in harm's way to get a story is very tempting. But also media houses, they should provide them with certain gadgets. You find sometimes in some of these developing countries, they have poor cameras where one international journalist just zoom and get the best shot. For you have to go closer to the danger zone. So that is what I can say.
Well, of course, according to that UNESCO report, between 2022 and 2023, one journalist was killed in 4 days. That is a very worrying situation, especially when it comes to calling on big authorities, not only within Uganda, but away from Uganda, elsewhere in the world, for journalism, freedom of the press. But that said, when we do return after the break, we shall be having a news reel regarding the state of orphanages in the country and a move that will see many of them being closed down by the government. But that mentioned, we do have our inspirational song of the day kicking off our week this particular Monday. This is Give Me Love by Exodus and Levexon. It's 4th November. Good morning.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala.
I want to wish.
So did you send a success card?
I've been seeing these success cards, quite many of them, and I think there should be some regulation of a sort, because when you look at, we've been having this conversation about how some of these success cards also tend to depress some of the young children. Imagine if your parent has not been able to give you a great success card of, let's say, having lots of money or a money bouquet. You can only imagine the kind of pressure you have.
And these days it's a money bouquet.
A money bouquet. So you get into the examination hall while you're like, I think my parents don't love me enough.
And remember, these are really young students.
Yeah.
I think that is something UNEP should come out, or the Ministry of Education and Sports. I'm told at Senior 4, there's one who even did a success card of a car.
Of a car.
The Mark II. So
and after the student had to apologize on behalf of the school, saying it was not a success card as such, but it was because she works, she does some influencing for that company, that car company, on social media. So that's why they decided to pay her in that way, to give her a success card of a car. But it had almost created room for conversation. Even the parents were a little bit worried.
Yes.
Wondering how.
Because first they were. Well, wonders never cease to end in Uganda. There is everything new, but we must ensure that the foundations of education. That's why sometimes I like traditional schools. There are certain things that can never happen in traditional schools. I don't know if the money bouquets are happening there, But during our days, those that went to traditional schools, at the gate...
Robert, which traditional school did you go to?
I went to Mdeje Senior Secondary School.
Oh, I thought the one you normally speak highly
The
of.
A-level.
All right,
was a
and
traditional
away
school.
from that, let's get into some of the local news that we've gathered for you this morning.
And we'll begin with a sad note where lightning has killed 14 people and injured 37 others during a prayer service in Lamoille district. The incident occurred yesterday at around 5:30 p.m. at Church Zone 8 Block 2 of the Palace Settlement Camp, where people who were gathered for prayers and were worshipping during the rain started dropping the congregants with lightning. During prayers, the rain began approximately at about 5 and shortly after lightning struck. Now, the injured were shifted and evacuated to Palda Health Center 3 for urgent medical attention. Efforts to identify the victims are still ongoing. Over 798,000 candidates across the entire country will be writing their primary leaving examinations today. Now, according to UNEB, these exams will kick off with briefing of candidates today, the 4th of November this very year, and this will be happening and this will include over 15,000 PLE centers. For members of the public have been warned against examination malpractices, and pupils across the country will undertake their exams, but the public has been urged to desist from any form of malpractices. This year, over 798,000 candidates are registered to sit for PLE at 15,000 centers. The briefing kicks off today, and then we will have them sit for mathematics and SST, then Thursday science and English. The Lord Mayor of Kampala, Elias Lukwago, says all is set to release the 4.9 billion shillings for garbage management in Mukono, Entebbe and Menvu garbage site. While meeting the Kitezi landfill victims, the Lord Mayor Lukwago told UBC that out of the 4.9 billion, 2.5 will be earmarked for sensitization of the communities around the garbage collection site, and the balance will be for training garbage collectors. Government will release 4.9 billion shillings for garbage management at the site of Mukono, Entebbe and Menvu. The money will cater for sensitization of the communities surrounding these garbage collection sites and training of garbage collectors. During a meeting with Kitezi landfill victims, the Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago said that the money will be released soon. The Lord Mayor said that at least 4.9 billion shillings does not include compensation of the victims. He tasked all those still waiting for compensation to wait government's decision. Chadondo East Member of Parliament Muwadanku Nyingi urged victims to unite. Some of the victims called more government intervention into their matters. Kitezi landfill exploded in August this very year, killing over 30 people and displaced.
Time on our WhatsApp number, and then also on the X app with Robert Chirabonyonyitono on this matter. Now, just to give you a little bit of the updates, is that we have close to 195 orphanages in the country, but not so, with only one fully funded by the government. The others are not majorly run by the religious denominations that are quite a variety of that. Looking into the Church of Uganda, some are being run by the Pentecostal churches, as well as baby homes for the many orphans that are out there in the country, or the many underprivileged children. But now there's a new move by government that is seeking to close the struggling orphanages and relocate the children on matters that are quite many and highlighted by the minister. That is the State Minister for Children's Affairs, Balam Barugahara, who says that the orphanage is no longer capable of caring for the children after its donors have withdrawn the support. Then the facility is to be relocated elsewhere, simply because it puts these young children into a situation where they cannot come back from, or a situation where they are not likely to recover from. So you can be part of this conversation on to deal with issues, orphanage and the orphans in the country. Welcome on board. I am with Robert Chirabonyonyiton. Robert, we start from there on matters to do with the orphanages and the state under which we are in.
Well, first and foremost, we all must know that we are here, we will go, but there are people that are supposed to come after us. And we should ensure that every child born in Uganda, regardless of where they are born, has the basic human rights of food, shelter, if of school-going age, they access education, they have the health they need. Unfortunately, that is not the case to majority of Uganda's children. Now, I'm talking about those who are not in orphanages. Now, it becomes worse to those in orphanages. Because remember, most of these orphanages, these are children who have lost their mom and dad. And some of them, even children found abandoned, are brought there. Not only orphan homes, but children picked on streets, not the street children, but those dumped by their mothers. Some got the orphanage gate, leave the baby there. So it's a very big problem. I usually visit Sanyu Babies Home here at Namirembe. We have a group where we donate to Sanyu Babies Home. Every year we do that donation. But I want to tell you, Sonko, even there they are overwhelmed with the numbers. They'll tell you on average they receive about 6 babies. Every day. 6 babies. Dropped at the gate, and or sometimes police brings them. Or people of good hearts, they pick a child and they bring them. Yet the rate of adoption is not that very fast compared to what they bring in. But when the minister says that let's close those that have failed to sustain themselves, because remember, when you open up an orphanage, you're given 5 years to guarantee you a license of operating. Now, they assess your ability to. But the bad thing is that most of these orphanages are opened up either by individuals of good hearts that see the need, are opened up by Christian-based organizations. I don't know any by Muslims so far, but okay, let me use the word faith-based organizations. But also, some of them are opened up, and let's call a spade, not a big spoon, by people with intentions of making money. You get that? Many open up these orphanages with intentions of getting money, not the willingness to solve a problem or to give a life to a child. Because they know Sonko, Ugandans are good at writing proposals. Ugandans are very good at identifying where they can get donor support. Now, donor support sometimes is not sustainable. And many of these that give these orphanages donor support don't come up with a sustainability plan. That's why when a time comes and the donors pull out, some pull out after sensing that the money they are sending is not being put to proper use. I remember one time I was following a case where a donor was selling, are they called bells and water? For these children, these orphanage homes. And they received right information that they're ending up in Sentibali Kudembe, they're ending up in shops, where the donor is told that every child, you spend this amount of money a year. And these donors were sending this amount of money. Now, They arrived in Uganda after getting information that what you're sending is not delivering what's meant to be. When they reached, sometimes they will take children to other areas, then show them, now this is the play area we've constructed. Ugandans are very crafty people. Some of them are very crafty people. These are vulnerable people, but someone is amassing wealth. So we have people that these ones that are collapsing, accountability issues, the donors have decided to pull out. Now, Sonko, if you started this to make money, if it's no longer making money for you, then what next?
Robert, let's also look into the fact that in the past 3 years, over 120 have been closed. Those are the orphanages that have been closed simply because they have run out of funding, because not many of them are funded by the government, like we've mentioned in the stats.
It's only one.
195, only one is funded by the government. Others are religiously funded, and it's either is an NGO or there's a religious group that is behind this particular orphanage. Meaning, in the past 3 years, many have lost the funding. And Robert, please note that even in the past 3 years, we are also adding the COVID-19 in here because it just happened in the 3 years. Can we say that the government needs to come in and take over these orphanages, or the people who are responsible for taking over ran out of the money to continue with their volunteer work?
Well, first and foremost, I don't think closure is a solution. Because, one, when you close one orphanage, you're taking these children to another orphanage. And still this other orphanage is depending on donor aided. Because when donors come here, we look at something that we don't value, which is a sustainability plan. You know, so whenever you're having donor aid or a project running on donors, and it doesn't have a sustainability plan, that what happens when donors pull out? This orphanage, if we are having it in Buyikwe, have we bought maybe 90 acres of land that we can grow food? We shall have cows on it. The donors to support that element. But now we have a challenge that the donors come here, and what they are doing in case they pull out, we cannot sustain ourselves. You know? Because so we write a proposal, show I'm in such an area, I'm in a Katwe, we have so many orphans, we have child mothers, we have they drop you, write all the problems in your proposal. Now, Pastor Gary somewhere looks at this proposal and says, yes, the Lord has led me with a few people they pray with to gain support and stand with a brother. This is the proposal. You convince them. Now they ask you, what do you need? You talk about the infrastructure, talk about funding, then they tell you, well, look for a place. Now from the place, how much money do you need per child? What are these? But remember, you don't have a sustainability plan. You're starting this orphanage, but you're also getting a job on the other side and employing other people. Now when they pull out, you have no plan B, as we say. So government then, this is what I want to believe. You see, social protection and child growth, government has a hand to play in this. Leaving it to only the private sector. And remember, this is not a profit-making thing. An orphanage is not a profit-making thing. So I think government must come in and see how it can aid these. There must be a, would I call it a private-public partnership, that government sends some extension, some funding to those that have excelled. Those that have excelled. Then closure of others and maybe opening government ones. Because one would say this is still not sustainable. But if we are to prevent it, are we being more proactive as a government? What are the factors that are leading to establishment of these orphanages? One, high levels of poverty. Two, high levels of immorality. Because Sonko, leave alone the children that are losing their parents and they are left nowhere and taken these orphanage homes. Most of these orphanage homes have children who have been dumped Police takes children there. You know, so that is an immoral factor. By the time a woman gets pregnant and carries a baby for 9 months, then after wakes up at 4 and places the baby at the gate of Sanyu Baby's Home. I'm using Sanyu Baby's Home because it's more prominent for people. You know, there is a question there. There is poverty. There is also high levels of morality as well. So, when we look at what efforts has government done to be proactive, 2, how easy is it for you and me to start an orphanage? That is also very important.
And what are the intentions of us starting it?
Yes.
Because like you mentioned today, not so many people are starting the orphanages or the babies' homes because they want to help.
It's like people who are starting schools today.
Maybe they just want to tap into the donor funding.
Let me tell you, one of the areas where there is money are orphanages, if you have very good donors.
So many people are targeting that space simply because of
So
that.
government first should tighten the requirements for someone to start an orphanage. Tighten. Tighten. The Non-Governmental Registration Bureau now was merged under Ministry of Internal Affairs. And they should tighten.
And well, in the same spirit, we would like to invite you, our dear viewer, to comment on the move by government to close down struggling orphanages and relocate the children. What would be your comment on that? What do you think should be done in order to ensure that these orphanages that have been closed, close to 120 over the last 3 years, the numbers do not increase? Because you're looking at the number of babies or orphans that are in these baby homes. We are looking at close to 1,700 out of the 195 of the baby homes that we do have in the country. And of course, please do not, like we did mention in the opener, only one is fully funded by the government, meaning the others are the mercy of the religious groups, or fully funded by the religious groups, non-government organizations, and of course others coming in by maybe a few of these donors who are away from the country that continue to put a lot of money. You know, Robert, before we even get into what you think should be the first solution, before we even look at closing down, there's this argument of calling upon people to adopt. But I've come to realize that adopting may be okay, but again, not so many people have the capacity of adoption.
Not so many people have the capacity. That is very, very right, like you said. But also, you know, certain things are very interesting in this country. I don't know if you've ever gone through that adoption process.
No, I have not.
At least I have a niece, may her soul rest in eternal peace. She went through it, and she went to adopt a child, and that was from Sanyu Baby's Home. Good. The child, I think now, she's going to senior 6. Yes, is one of the candidates, if I'm not mistaken. But I want to tell you, it's very hectic as well. And remember, also, there are some cultures that we are just buying into as Ugandans. Are you aware of that? Adoption is not so much a thing of Ugandans. You'll find a husband and a wife 10 years, 11 years down the road without a child, and they are craving for a child. If you go to other countries, it will be very easy for them, also European countries, to say, well, if you can't get a child now, let's adopt. By the time the Lord gives us ours, or at least we have a child with us. Here they will do whatever, but they will not adopt a child. Now, it's not a culture of ours, but thinking loud is having, why do we have so many and we are closing so many? First, in the first place, how would we have avoided the so many? It's like when you look at churches today. You have so many churches and they are licensed. So you're having so many orphanages, and at the end of the day you find that many cannot sustain themselves. Remember, you talked about the COVID-19. Many of these countries were hit by COVID-19. The donor community shrinked. The fund envelope shrinked because they also have now their own problems. That's even why you see that the refugees are also suffering. Because where the monies would come from, these people are also hit and they are struggling. Now that means if you don't have a sustainability plan, you're not able to sustain yourself, you'll definitely close. But shouldn't government come in to help some of these best performing orphanages to stand? Because they are doing a tremendous job as far as giving a life to these vulnerable, unprivileged children. Because I believe you closing one and taking those children to another, at the end of the day to also get full, and they can't handle. But when government brings in a hand, and very important also, Sonko, I want to appeal to Ugandans. I want to make a humble appeal to Ugandans. Children by choice, not chance. Whenever I talk about that, some people feel offended. Some believe every child has, what do they say? Their chances, you know, they were known. But we must take this talk very serious. Giving birth is a responsibility. We may not discuss the orphans because death is something that can take anybody anytime. And anyone's children can become orphans. But this giving birth of children without a plan is something religious leaders must talk about. We must promote all methods of family planning. Family planning. We are having even those young girls in slums. I told you that when you go to Sanyu Babies Home, ask them. Majority of the children they are getting are not the orphans. When you go to these orphanages, ask them. A religious organization opens up an orphanage to look after children. They wake up, they are telling them, where do we put them? They have to adopt them. So partly their agenda now moves away from orphans. They know families they are coming from. They have brought them into the home to also picking these children. We must be very intentional and speak about family planning. We must be very intentional and promote family planning. Otherwise, some of these cannot be sustained. You cannot say you're going to invest in orphanages so much as long as the source of the problem, except death. And even death, there's what we call preventable death. Maybe some of these parents of these children are dying due to preventable death. You know? How to improve our health system. So I truly believe we must be proactive than saying we shall have a solution to a problem. How best can we prevent the problem from happening?
Okay, and I have some comments coming in from our viewer this morning. This one says, good morning. Nurturing and assisting an orphan is good. Question is, at what age is an orphan supposed to leave an orphanage home, and where does the orphan go? Success to all orphans sitting for PLE 2024, and he says special success to his biological son Mumbere Emma. This is Boambare Enos of Kasanda town saying nurturing and assisting an orphan is good, but at what age is one supposed to leave the orphanage, and where do they go? And you know, Robert, we need to also have a conversation on that. After someone is done, after the person has been released by the orphan, where do they go? You know, because many of them at times find it very difficult to even, you know, go through this particular world that looks to be too wide, especially when you do not have relatives that you best know of since childhood. And if I told you you've not been adopted, which is also very tricky.
And your home has been the orphanage.
Has been the orphanage. Now you're in the outside world alone. What then really happens there? You know, putting yourself in the shoes of this.
It's a very complicated situation, but I'm told many of them try to look for their roots, and psychologically torturing. Because when a child is dumped at an orphanage, like we said, these also work also as areas where children that have nowhere to go are taken, sometimes by political, local authorities and all that, and police even at some time. Now, they do one thing that I noticed very critical. They pick every detail that has come with that child. And it's funny, Sonko, that some mothers even put notes as they are wrapping the baby. They may put a name. They look at those features. Now, when a child grows, Sometimes they tell them, it seems you came from here, then they'll go. It's a there's a lot of psychological torture to this child. Many of them try to look for their roots. Many of them live a life of thinking, maybe if they see someone who looks alike, maybe is that my father. But the few orphanages that have got good sponsorship or good donors, these children have excelled in education. They are having life. They are having life. They are moving on. And a number of them even have gone abroad because they understand this orphanage. And even some have formed or established orphanages as well, because they feel they understand this life better. And because they were given a chance to live and excel, they want also to give that opportunity to somebody else to do the same.
Well, and then the other comment here says, hi UBC, some of these orphanages have failed due to locations where they are found and food and health expenses. Why not take them in rural areas rather than Kampala? This is Bonya Gerald. Now Bonya puts it in a way that maybe it seems many of the baby homes are failing to continue their duties simply because they are in city centers and the cost of living seems high. So maybe they should try up country. And you know, as much as you're looking at it from this way, you're kind of thinking, when you take them away up country and you do not have the funding, how possible can these people actually?
Actually, I want to tell my brother that majority of these are in rural areas. When we had the LRA war, many orphanages opened up in Gulu, in northern Uganda. Very many, actually, majority of them are in northern Uganda. But you find that they are equally struggling. I was looking at one, it is a Catholic church funded, and the sister had this tin of naan. You know, that powdered milk. They said these babies depend on powdered milk. Now, because I said they don't have a sustainability plan. Actually, they were talking about demolishing a certain building, then turning it into rentals to get some income. So even if they're in rural areas, certain things that these young ones may need, you may not have them, because these people may build for you the blocks, but they have not worked on a sustainability plan. Maybe, like I said, 90 acres, so there is a way you grow food, you have the cows there, you have a garden there, at least food is there. Now you can struggle with medical. But as long as our donors don't provide for us sustainable plans, sustainability plans, that what next after them, plan B when they have left or they are unable to carry on with the donations, we shall still have these challenges. And I want to urge government or the licensing bureau of such that there should be a proper sustainability plan. What next? What happens in case, if you want to open up an orphanage, give us a proper plan. Supposing your donors pull out. Because sometimes you may find that donors may not last forever, certain times. So if a person doesn't have a sustainability plan, don't open up an orphanage. You get it? Sure, yes, you've written your proposal, you've gotten your donors, they are willing to pay, to facilitate. Someone, they tell you are committing ourselves for 5 years, then you're being licensed. What after 5 years, these children you've brought, where are they going to go? So it is not where they are located, as long as there isn't that plan. Because when it's in the city, so, and you say you're opening up an orphanage, but you're building rentals, you know, in town, you're building some business buildings, commercial buildings to support, like the Church of Uganda is doing and the Catholic Church, that they have a church, but they're having a number of projects, the church house, the banking that can sustain the faithful heads and all that. That is where these should be. But this issue of I have donors, I've secured them, is not leading us anywhere.
Well, I'm taking another comment here. This one says, good morning UBC. I'm Muhimbura Benon from Mitoma District, listening in from Arua City. Thanks for the program. There is a need for the government, religious leaders, civil society organizations, and everyone to take a responsibility to discourage irresponsible parenting of dumping children on streets if we are to fight this. There is a need for proper planning and preparation for a parent to the child. As Ugandans, we should stop hoping in foreign aid to support our neglected children. We cannot continue to live in society hoping help from away and fail to prepare for our lives and families. Then we will remain beggars. Thanks. Thank you for that comment. This one says, good morning, dear UBC. To me, the government should consider orphanages as a particular community in Uganda that in case an event of disaster strikes, the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness should get in just as they do to other communities like Bududa, Kasese, and now Chitezi. For sure, orphanages have played a role in this country to help less children of Uganda. This is Pastor Omsolo Fred from Soroti. Thank you very much, Pastor, and for that comment as well. And Robert, I'll be taking your parting shots in a minute as we're summing up with our conversation.
One, I call upon government to give a hand to support those that are excelling. They could be private, fine, non-government organization, church-based, but government must give a hand because these are children of the nation. Two, I call upon fellow Ugandans, fellow countrymen and women. Let's have children by choice and not chance. Let's promote all methods of family planning. Let's evaluate, let's think twice before bringing a child. It's very hurting for a woman to carry a baby for 9 months, then go and dump her at an orphanage, then dump her somewhere for some person to come and take care of this baby. Together, we must treasure life. We must treasure these children and ensure that all children have the basic human rights, the right to food, shelter, and education plus health. These must be non-negotiables for our children. Children by choice, not chance.
Well, of course, this is our comment of the state of orphanages is what we were discussing this morning, because there is a move by government to close the struggling baby homes in the country, with the past 3 years having over 120 of those closed simply because they're not meeting the standards of the government that are supposed to be enhanced by those operating these baby homes. Of course, this is a conversation that continues online, and for those of you who've been contributing greatly, I'm seeing a brother of mine from South Africa who's sending in his regards as well. And well, thank you very much for being part of it. After the break, when we do return, we have the GMU Tourism Express. We've got business updates and latest from the US elections. The polls are tomorrow. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't go.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable. Juko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda wange, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning, and it's now time for us to get into the GMU Tourism Express, run it down with business updates and also give you the updates from the US elections. So starting it off with the GMU Tourism Express. On Saturday, I got the privilege of attending the UNDP Elgon Half Marathon that was hosted by the Joshua Cheptegei Development Foundation together with partners in UNDP. Now, that same marathon attracted hundreds of Ugandans who took part in the marathon in Mbale, with arrival of the many numbers from Kampala and elsewhere in the country, and some few foreigners that also arrived away from the country who made it to Mbale city on Friday before the marathon kicked off on Saturday morning. This particular marathon was seeking to put a voice to gender-based violence within the Bugisu sub-region, but in the same spirit also put a voice and also step a foot when it comes to climate action within Uganda. And also quite a number of runners and athletes took part in this particular one. And myself, who is not a professional runner, managed to take on the 10 kilometers race, and I can only assure you that I returned with a medal, having completed a number that I can't be sure of. But it was a race that was well taken by quite a number of those who took part in the experience of the Elgon Half Marathon. But of course, when it comes back to what Mbale has to offer from the side of tourism, because it's now the Tourism Express, you do realize that besides the beautiful landscape that Mbale has to offer, this alone, during the entire marathon, the 21 kilometers, which is half marathon, looking at those who also took the 10-kilometer marathon like myself, and then the others who took the 5 kilometers, you could be able to see the beauty around the Mbale city. And now, first of all, with that look, you can see the mountainous bit of Mountain Elgon. Now, that alone is a tourism attraction of its own. And after the marathon, we also toured around Mbale city, and we went away from the city center and went on to the other tourist destinations like Wanale, the Wanale Hill, which has very beautiful falls, if I am to put it in that way. Just as you can see Sipi Falls, it's not like Sipi Falls, but it's rather a hill that gives you that experience for those of you who like hiking. Because after our hiking session, our worry was getting down the hill, because it was a bit slippery, but the experience was worth it. So Mbale has got lots of that, and the hotel industry in Mbale also picked up from the same, because besides the nightlife economy in Mbale, the hotel industry in Mbale is also really a very well prepared industry. Or the players and who manage the hotel industry and those who are in the hospitality industry in Mbale are really good at what they do. Besides the warmth of the people, if at all you are someone who is into tourism directly, this can be a region that is really one that is quite yet to be fully tapped by the tourism operators, especially the domestic tourists. Because many of the domestic tourists always find themselves in Jinja or some parts of Western Uganda. But if you happen to go to Mbale, there's lots of things that you can look out for there from the eye of a tourist. But also, in the same spirit, you look at the Mount Elgon National Park, that is also run by the Uganda Wildlife Authority, and also giving you a chance to go there and view some bit of the wildlife. Because amongst the people who are exhibiting, amongst the tents that were at the venue of the UNDP half marathon, we had tents of exhibitors from the different partners of the same marathon. You're looking at UNDP, you're looking at Hima Cement, you're looking at the Mount Elgon National Park, you're looking at Phoenix, that were also part of the sponsors of the same Elgon half marathon. But the most important bit of the things is that it was in its second edition, and it attracted hundreds of Ugandans who took part. And of course, if it continues with the same kind of spirit, you never know how many people will be turning up for the third edition. And of course, this particular one was graced by the Minister of Tourism, Tom Butime, who was also followed by the CEO of the Uganda Tourism Board, that is Lily Ajarova, and the UNDP country representative, and of course Joshua Cheptegei, who made sure that the people of Mbale are having the second edition of the Elgon half marathon. So we shall be waiting to see what the third edition will be looking like. But besides the element of sports tourism, there's a lot to offer through this particular marathon. And well, that does it for the GMU Tourism Express. Irene Allen Namisango will be back tomorrow to take you through more of the world of tourism in Uganda. Now off to business, because the State House has entered a partnership with Makerere University, which is to train the youth on skills that could enable them earn a living regardless of not being in school. In this arrangement, the Makerere University shall identify the youth in the informal sector, such as bricklaying, roofing houses, water installing and others, and then State House would provide the funding. Director Presidential Projects and Industrial Hub, State House Engineer Raymond Kamjisha, revealed that it's time to skill up all practicing persons in line with their jobs. This was at the closure of Fundies and Mason's Technical Training at Makerere University College of Engineering, Art, Design and Technology. Now, the head of the college, Dr. Tamale Amin Chigundu, noted as one of the ways of giving back to community. They organized the workshop for the foremen and masons from who have not been to school for skills training. Now, Otala John Xavier, President Makerere Architecture Students Association, said that he has learned so many things from the practicing. Now, Chirabo praised also a student at Makerere who said that it could be good in the field, so that they could only be good in the field if they practice these while in vocational institutes or in school. Now we turn our focus on the international scene, still from the aspect of business. Now, Win Li Wu took over the running of his father's glassmaking business in northern China's Guangzhou in 2020, and he immediately set up optimizing the family's operations. Now, Li moved Hebei Yu Glass Products sole factory from its city location to a site outside Changzhou, providing better access to important road networks and more space to expand the facility. But now, according to Lee, and his colleagues are concerned that their success could be all coming crash down if former U.S. President Donald Trump is re-elected to the White House. Now, some businesses, last week we were talking about the fact that not so many of the Chinese people are concerned or worried about the elections in the United States and how it will likely affect them, because to them, regardless of who comes in as president, whether it's Kamala Harris or it is Donald Trump, the chances are the tensions and the competition between the two world-strong economies does continue, that is the US and China. Now, according to Lee, his colleagues as well, they are really concerned that their success could come crashing down if former US President Donald Trump is re-elected to the White House tomorrow. Now, Trump, who is running neck and neck with Vice President Kamala Harris in a race that is too close to call, has floated plans for tariffs of 60% or more on all goods heading to the US from China. Now, the economists have dubbed Trump's plans Tariff War 2.0 after the Republican imposed tariffs as high as 25% on a range of Chinese goods during his first time in office, prompting Beijing to announce its own tariffs in turn. Now, such a large increase in tariffs by the United States will definitely have a great impact on many businesses in China. It will result in products not being competitive, and at the very least, the sales in the US will also drop significantly. And well, also from my observation in Bali, by the way, is that there is less of the outdoor businesses. So meaning, if at all you are a business person here in Uganda, in Kampala, and you've got some good money with you or some good initial capital, you can run down to Bali and start up something for quite many, or maybe set up a subsidiary for the outdoor kind of businesses. And not so many retail shops do operate over the weekends, and it's something that you can easily bring closer to the people in Bali, I should say. Let's look at the forex market to see, though, how the Ugandan shilling has been faring on the exchange, courtesy of the central bank. All right, more of those updates will be coming your way here in our continuous bulletins in regards to the updates from the forex. I'm coming back shortly with the latest from the traffic app, rather from the latest with the US elections, because the updates are coming in as the polls are also coming closer. In a few hours' time, the US will be heading to the polls. 5th November it is. You know, the most interesting bit about politics is that even when people are heading into the political arena, or when you know you're very, very much confident about your candidate winning, you never know when it comes to the US elections. That's how interesting they easily become. Now, the artificial intelligence's Nostradamus election prediction is what we're going to be kicking off with here. And of course, there's always that saying that even if you're not ready for the day, it cannot always be night. So tomorrow, November 5th, the United States will be having that election, and many are anticipating to see who will be the next president there. But of course, the bigger question is who will win the US election, because thanks to ChatGPT's AI bot that stepped into the shoes of the 16th century oracle Nostradamus and cooked a more shocking answer than anticipated. Despite the hotly contested political battle pitting Donald Trump against Kamala Harris, the AI-driven prophecy swung a different way, predicting neither of the two would prevail on top, according to the AI chatbot. And elsewhere, the Focus also issued a chilling warning, possibly echoing the violent events of the infamous January 6, 2021 Capitol Hill insurrection that followed Trump's defeat in 2020. More words for both front-running rivals were revealed individually, leading Trump back to court for relentless legal battles, with allusions to Harris' hopeful fate in the off chance that she loses the political tug of war. In the final hour, a twist of unforeseen neither may claim the throne of Serene, the online soothsayer claimed, potentially hitting at the dark horse vice president candidates J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, according to the AI predictions said. Now, a name unspoken in many a tale will rise to power beyond the pale. Now, though Trump and Kamala shall fight with might, another will lead, emerging from the night. Now, Nostradamus' AI-empowered visage father revealed that the country will see unrest born of the region around the time for November 5th election results. Now, protests, marches and rallies loud shall steer beneath a darkening cloud, the bottom unveiled. In cities bright, where freedom is flame burns, conflict shall arise as the wheel of fate turns. Sparks of violence in pockets and streets will challenge the peace where two sides meet. Oh, interesting times from the prediction of the AI there. But still, into the elections is that Lady Gaga gets ready to vote for pop star, and to vote rather. The pop star now joins Pennsylvania rally leading lineup featuring Katy Perry. Now, the already stacked roster of celebrity endorsements pitching in support of the Democratic-led Harris-Walz campaign powered up to the next level on Sunday, November 3rd, as Lady Gaga announced her official presidential endorsement on social media. Days ahead of the November 5th election, the pop star urged her 57 million followers to get ready to vote soon after another star-studded lineup for Kamala Harris' Monday rally in Philadelphia was revealed. Now, sharing a video message on Instagram, Gaga said, "It's time to get ready to vote. I'll see you guys in Pennsylvania." Although she didn't directly shout out the words in the clip, her post caption spelled out her political alignment as Harris-Walz 2024, leaving no doubt where she was headed. The Bad Romance Song Buddy's official statement came hot on the heels of Kamala Harris's Pittsburgh rally lineup announcement. Now, alongside Katy Perry, the Age of Glory hitmaker is set to lead the headlining pack of celebrities on the election eve. However, both influential stars will not actually be sharing the stage and will be posted at different locations in the US state. While the last Friday night, crooner will be out in Pittsburgh for a rally happening on the same day, Gaga will be campaigning at the Rocky Steps at the Philadelphia Museum of Art on Monday. And also further with the US elections 2024 updates, over 77 million Americans cast their votes in early voting. Now, as the US presidential election is approaching, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump intensified their efforts to sway undecided voters, especially in swing states. Both the candidates are campaigning intensively through the crucial battleground states that will determine the winner in what the polls indicate is a tight race. Looking at the Democratic presidential candidate, Kamala Harris campaigned in Michigan on Sunday, while her Republican rival Donald Trump visited three key eastern battleground states in the final stretch of the election. Now, a latest poll indicating Harris leading in Iowa, in Ohio, a state Trump won comfortably in the last two elections, has raised the possibility of unexpected results, although another survey showed her trailing there. Now, also, meanwhile, 41 million Americans have already cast their votes in early voting before Election Day. This election appears to be one of the most closely fought races in recent memory. Now, the highly anticipated U.S. election is scheduled for Tuesday, November 5th. According to the U.S. Constitution, Americans cast their votes on Tuesday following the first Monday in November. Now, the individuals who emerges victorious in the U.S. presidential race will take office in the White House for a 4-year term on January 20th, 2025. Now, also looking into the U.S. elections, how the Indian community, how the Indian American community has voted in the last 20 years. There are 5.2 million people of Indian origin in America. The community was predominantly in favor of Democrats until 2016. Will they swing in favor of Kamala Harris, a Democrat candidate with roots in India, or will they continue to back Donald Trump in 2024? Now, the Indian Americans are often called a model minority because of their high level of socioeconomic success. Now, the Indian American community, which has trembled since 2000 to 5.2 million, will be politically significant in a tight electoral context, according to the latest figures. Now, they were pro-Donald Trump in 2016. Question is, will they be pro-Donald Trump this time? Because with some bit of the origin from India by the Vice President Kamala Harris, others are saying maybe it is time they will be backing him. But 2016 saw Donald Trump win a close election that was between him and Hillary Clinton. In 2021, he lost to the current president, Joe Biden, in another tight race. But it does seem like this is a more tighter one in recent history. Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. January is when the new president will be sworn in. But tomorrow, the U.S. heads to the poll. However much those of the American people, close to 77 million, have already cast their votes in regards to the early polls or the early voting. Well, that does it for the U.S. updates. Tomorrow I'll be back again with the latest from the polls and the updates ahead of the United States. That does it for the polls and the polls updates, the business updates, as well as the GMU tourism updates. Robert Chirabonyo Newton returns with a Good Morning Uganda agenda. Stick around.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't go. You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown uncover the untold and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda wange, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
This week on UBC.
My name's Jung Gwonjong. I'm the boss of this entire hotel. My duties include heavy lifting, spreading happiness, and driving fancy cars. I'm responsible for the area by the hotel entrance. And I officially moved into the sunroom. You think you can cut my share of the rent?
Say what?
To maximize my space, I needed to improvise a bit. That day, she walked into my life. Hi.
So, insurance, right?
Huh? Like that. I can
Don't let him scam you. We don't want your investments or insurance.
I met the woman of my dreams.
I'll take you home. I got the Maserati.
How do you spell Maserati?
M-A-S-H.
Okay, we're leaving. You shouldn't drive, especially not in that car. The cops will fine you extra. His family's got money and don't know what to do with it.
What's your name? Huh? I'm reporting you.
If I were to be with a guy like that, I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror.
Maybe all rich guys are like that. I'm not a rich guy. I'm down to earth. No, don't. It's not worth it. But after I met you, I suddenly got out of bed.
John Wonjong, I really was wrong about you. After meeting me, you learned to walk. This isn't a love story, it's a medical miracle.
And all the women in the club will be like sisters to me.
Respect is most important in a relationship. If a man doesn't respect a woman, then he's no man. Here, keep it safe. It's your playbook. Trying to be meaningful all day with them. In the end, you'll still be single with a bunch of new mom.
I was smiling all day, every day. When I woke up every morning, I wanted to yell out, I'm so happy. If there's such thing as a miracle.
You're not a miracle.
The brilliant moments, or what we call miracles.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
A lovely morning to you this cold Monday. Here in Kampala, it is raining and raining cats and dogs in some areas. But we are here, ever trusted, very reliable, that no matter the weather, we are here and you can be comfortably rest assured that Good Morning Uganda will air. We've done that, it is our commitment, and we've lived a test of time. to ensure that we educate the public, we set the pace and agenda, but also at a certain level entertain. We educate. Now, this morning we are going to be discussing something very sensitive. Why am I saying sensitive? Because it has sparked a lot of public interest. In Parliament, the head of state has on several occasions talked about it. And looking at various social media platforms, it's dominating. And that is the rationalization and merger of government agencies, but to be more particular, Uganda Coffee Development Authority going in the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, we have seen many coffee growers speak about this, but also we have seen government giving a clear stand that while rationalization will save our government a lot of money that is spent on facilitating, catering for these various bodies that they are merging. But also, to a certain extent, there was also duplication of roles. So government felt it wise that they merge. They put some of these under. Earlier on, I talked about the NGO bureau that was at the Ministry of Internal Affairs as, I think, a department or a bureau of this kind, now under the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Of course, I think out of the so many, 12 staff were retained and all that. But here we are when it comes to coffee. Now, joining me on set, I have the Global Peace Ambassador, Milton Kambura, and the chapter president with me, with whom we are going to be discussing this. Milton.
Good morning, brother.
Good morning to you.
I'm very happy to be here.
I see you're putting on Trump's tie.
We pray for him tomorrow. It's the day, sir.
Are you for Trump or Kamara?
As a Global Peace Ambassador, I look forward to work with any U.S. president. I'm very happy. I was able to meet President Biden on a debate of how U.S. should be able to interact for win-win partnership with African nations. I look forward to see that any winning president, especially Trump, who had accepted our project on South Korea, North Korea reunification agenda, to counter the Pyongyang nuclear project on world peace. So I look forward, if Kamala Harris passes through, I look forward to working with you, but also His Excellency, former President Trump, I look forward to, again, working with you. I want to say thank you, and I greet all our leaders, Dr. Hinchin Preston Moon, the chairman of Global Peace Leadership Council and the Global Peace Foundation, but also our networks globally. We look forward to peace and stability around the world.
Well, you know, diplomats never show sides because they are ready to work with whoever wins. I won't mention either which side am I, but I just wish for the best God-fearing president.
Yes.
To emerge the winner, because we get so much aid from the United States, and we need aid that is not conditioned on anything that is not African and anything that is not against the God we worship, and that is the living God. So that is the best candidate. May God give us that candidate, God-fearing. Now, coming back to our topic of discussion this morning, is we are seeing a lot of talk. And we want to begin with why rationalization. Because people have asked that really is this the best way to tame government expenditure? I know you don't speak for government, but you're a political analyst and you follow events. If we are to talk about saving government monies, people have had a number of proposals that they think even maybe the political cost of administration, but not these particular bodies. So why rationalization? Then we shall go later to why UDCA.
I want to appreciate our government of Uganda for maintaining the coffee sector. You must be able to remember that coffee industry and its outcomes supported the NRM coming to power. You remember those soldiers in Rwenzori and also even in Bunyoro and even eastern, and central Uganda. They used to sell coffee and support the NRA struggle. And I want to say thank you, because it has benefited more than 12 million Ugandans. Those are close to 2.2 million households in the country. All of us studied our primary using the money from coffee. And so even the President Museveni, I think even during Obote's regime, finding himself even to work in State House, he used to talk good about coffee. And so I want to thank the government that amidst all the challenges, it did not throw away that mandate. And it had to even establish an act of parliament, the Coffee Act, to protect the industry. And a new baby, a new foundation to professionalize it further and even build the Uganda Coffee Development Authority. So the Bugisu Cooperative Society, they are still functional up to today. So why rationalization? As a student of economics, but also recently having now a master's in good governance and leadership, basing on the research that is there, the word rationalization means you want to optimize on the best options, on the best choices. You want to take this choice, then you say, what can I do? Then you put up a research, then you say, okay, where can I do better? Then you follow the decision that can give you the best outputs. So those of you who are misunderstanding the word rationalization is actually based on research. Government took a research, and this research is causing it to actually do certain alternative policy measures that are really good in nature, that are really providing cost-effective outputs. So one of which is to bring the NGO Bureau in place that consumed the NGO business in the country, not standing alone. Number one is they want to reduce on duplication. You know, when there is duplication, then you are likely to spend more in terms of paying a lot of staff, paying the same mandate, similar technologies, similar. So in terms of reducing on costs, you make sure that you bring those agencies with similar functions and similar mandates together, so that then you are able to reduce on cost of running government, running politics. Then you also reduce on the corruption, because the type of corruption that is taking away 10 trillion, can you imagine? Close to 10 trillion, is hidden somewhere. And so Mr. President is looking, where is this corruption that is technical in nature, professional in nature, where you cannot see it on the surface? So you have to really look and put on different laces. And so one of which is to make sure that you have a ministry to make sure that is the one accountable. That means if a ministry is the one accountable for resources, you make sure that now you cut those other departments and fix it back where they were, so that the minister is the one liable and answerable to the taxpayer directly. That is one important thing. But after 40 years, those other people are saying, but after 40 years, where was he? No, it is never late. Do it, because it's all about cutting the cost of running business. So if it is the right time and the president say, hey guys, we can save 1 trillion. Actually, this is what he's looking at, saving 1 trillion. But others are saying, I had my sister saying, Musumba, Right Honorable, I think is the board chair and a member of the FDC, saying, but what about the 10 trillion that we lose in corruption? That is one of them. That is one of the processes. So I feel that on that, I think it's in good faith. Then secondly is bringing equity in government. Equity, I mean that you cannot allow the people in KCCA, the drivers who just drive here, be paid higher salary than a driver of a minister who drives the minister across the whole country. So sometimes we need to bring equity, we need to bring justice, we need to bring peace within government institutions. And so that now others say, don't say, did you know that agencies are more financed than even the ministries? So that is one of the issues that possibly the president would like to fix. But how to fix it is that he has poor marketeers. Before you talk about policies in parliament, have you promoted the idea so that the farmers understand it? So that the staffs and the directors and all those systems that are in Uganda Coffee Development Authority appreciate the idea, or they are going to fight like an opposition framework, working with the people on the other side to actually fight you in government, even when they're in government.
Milton, so far all the reasons you've given, one would say carry water. But then, and I think Ugandans are not against rationalization, because since this process passed, we've seen a number of government agencies rationalized, but we've not had this public outcry. When the Non-Government Organizations Bureau was rationalized, I don't think, we just read a story about it. But why do you think when it comes to coffee, people are speaking out loud? Their leaders are speaking out loud. From the politics, I've seen some religious leaders who are not looking for votes speaking out loud. Culture heads speaking out loud. Why is it that with Uganda Coffee Development Authority, the voices have come out?
You must know that the Act of Parliament, the Coffee Act, does not provide for the role of, for example, our embassies. Now, you must know that coffee is not consumed here. I don't know why these colonial products, colonial businesses like this are not consumed locally. We would be the first consumers of coffee. Now, there is a loophole if you are dealing with a product which you are not locally consuming very well. Here we are talking about, and every day there are new dynamics. And so those new dynamics in the world market require new regulatory frameworks, need new improved leadership frameworks. And so we are talking about the contextualized component of where embassies, foreign affairs, need to play a part in working with a fellow ministry in terms of looking for markets outside the country. UCDA did not have a very good capacity to, for example, work with embassies to market coffee. That is why the president at the cabinet, he said, what do we do now? Because countries are beating us. We are the 8th leading, the top world's biggest exporter of coffee, earning us close to $1 billion. You see that? But being cheated, because you got to know that the global market of coffee is close to $240 billion. But all the 8 plus coffee producing countries only a share 24 billion. Uganda only get 1 billion. So there is also cheating, where the role of government need to be steered up beyond the policy. Beyond the policy, we are talking about our embassies becoming the biggest marketeers of coffee, which UCDA does not have. And so I must tell you,
UCDA's mandate, for the benefit of our viewer to understand
Uganda Coffee Development Authority had the mandate. The first mandate was to do with regulating activities of coffee production in the country. Basically farmers and you know all that. And making sure that you and me grow. Those days it was by force. People were canned. And the white man had to, so their work is to make sure we produce coffee. The second mandate is actually to do with quality production. Are we producing quality coffee? But
give tablings and all that to farmers.
But we have no capacity. Exactly. There we have seedlings. We have performed poorly.
Arrest some that are not conforming to.
And now Ugandans will fight you when you say arrest
them.
They
have done that, and I think
Uganda fought to that.
What UDCA did successfully was to have enough sensitization to show the coffee farmers that if we don't succumb to these standards, we may lose the market.
But we are still doing poorly on the world quality standard. We are still poor. Their mandate was also on research and development,
which they have done.
But then last year was optimizing earnings, which they have poorly done. To me, they have done poorly, because 1 kilo is supposed to be close to $100,000. That is the standard. Brazil is doing it well. And so we got to be serious here. This is a non-political debate. Me, I'm not in politics. But I'm telling you that what you have atuba. Abasajja batuba Germany teina na neka aika kamo akomwanyi. Kati government need to put its hand on that battle, because we are still slaves in our own gardens.
Do you know the fear of the public?
Yes.
Is you're moving away from specialization,
yes,
where we had a special entity focusing on coffee. Now you're taking us to a broader ministry,
yes,
that has so much,
yes,
to handle, and it may fail to do the specific roles that UCDA has been doing. That is their fear. It's not that they fear the merger, but they fear that, you see, specialization is you're focusing at one thing.
Yes.
But now when you go to something broader,
yes,
to be either be a department there, remember you're going to lose a number of your staff in the mergers.
Yes.
You're going to have a fewer staff. And we know, of course, many ministries are operating under, how can I call those budgets? Not so much of what they desire is what they get. However, they are striving, and we thank government for that. I've not had a ministry closed because of lack of funding. But that is the worry of Ugandans.
That
the very ministry you're talking about has tried a number of, talk about vanilla, a number of them. But the breakthrough has been a problem. Now they are saying, despite this being a government entity, we've seen success, we've seen breakthroughs, we've seen, I think the last 12 years we're able to produce about 6.8 million bags, you know, and sell these. So the public sees there's some success that has been achieved. So they feel that among those that should not be merged, the UCDA should not be merged.
Of course, I must say that the 2022 to 2023 report on coffee production in Uganda indicated that we have slowed down in terms of efficacy and also effectiveness at the world market. And so that requires a very huge leadership response, because other countries seem to be understanding that coffee is the big thing. Just like avocado in China is taking shape. Those of you who were thinking that coffee is now a normal product, China and Asian Pacific are taking on coffee. They are declining on tea. But now tea is no longer a serious business. Coffee is taking over. Now the issue is, should government, someone will say, why is government coming in? I think no, government must come in everything.
Actually, UDCA is government.
Yes, it is
not
government.
A private entity.
So I cannot be here and lie you, I am which party. And government, its role is to make sure buli kimu ekitunulira ye government. Yesu ngatanaba kuzalibwa waliyo government. Actually, God himself is a government. He has a cabinet in heaven. That's why he actually brought the Minister of Defense, Michael, to chase Satan. So, with the moment you are born, and you say you cannot respect government, you can oppose it. Yes, you oppose it. But the role of government is to make sure there are certain things that it regulates for the peace and the prosperity of all of us. So, based on that, mbasaba bakulu ekintu kino tukijjemu bufuzi. Naye ate speaker yankoze bubi kubanga twendibadde twogera nga ba diplomats. Naye ate bawulira speaker yennyini nga gamba Baganda kiba kivudde ku.
Those are just allegations, not
No, it is not just allegation. I am a diplomat and I know to really caution Speaker of Parliament to be careful with her statements, because she's not the Parliament. She's actually the Speaker to coordinate the debate. So where you think you are going to be sectarian and pull the trigger to divide the country in a debate of Baganda, nani Baganda, the Bakonzo, no. You need to be universal. We are talking about universal principles guiding leadership. So the president will have very serious opposition.
Well, Milton, I think I want to go away from that.
Yes.
Reason being,
yes,
I take them as allegations, not proven, and I even listened to the Katikkiro of Uganda saying she made a clarification on that. So I'll not interest myself in assumptions.
Yes,
I'll strongly remain on the topic of discussion.
Yes, okay, let me go back to coffee. But
yes,
I've put my point clear that coffee debate is not tribal and is not partisan. So that's why I'm saying that the fears of the farmers, of Ugandans, is basically what you have just been saying here. That one, they're going to lose business. That's true. And when someone feels that my business is going to collapse, they have the right, because Uganda is a private sector-led economy. So what is the stake? It is now the role of government to explain that the merger does not mean losing business. But as I said, government need to use UBC, for example, and the radios to now present a case that, you know what, the merger means reducing the cost of doing business in Uganda, the cost of politics, so that you get more profits, so that you get better prices of your coffee, so that you get more support to do with the seeds and responding to diseases of coffee in the villages. But secondly, which they are fearing is actually the past experience that is boggling the people, because people do not forget that once upon a time we had very strong cooperative societies. They all collapsed. And now we have Ugisu. So the circles could
actually, the cooperative movement is building up again.
Exactly, through the circles. That's good for government.
The only challenge we are having is that when you talk about cooperatives, many Ugandans look at agricultural cooperatives, but yet cooperatives take various forms.
Very many forms, yes.
But I'm also very liably informed that even the agricultural cooperatives are building up. When you go to Chibinge, they specialized in coffee. That's in Masaka. I think where the National Cooperative Day, National Cooperative Day was held, that is in Chibinge, Masaka. You'll find a very strong coffee cooperative that is even exporting tons and tons. A cooperative exporting coffee to the European world, and they're getting a lot of money out of it. Now, you said this should not be tribalistic.
Yes.
This should not be politicized.
Yes.
But remember, in the process of rationalization, how it was organized, that yes, you have many of them, some may not. And like you rightly said, you talked about cutting cost of administration. That these agencies, like you said, some of them, even when you look at their MDs, the salaries they earn, when you look at their deputies, when you look at their drivers, there is a way they frame their things that you may wonder, it is not what is happening in ministries.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
One would say, because we need to call a spade a spade.
Exactly.
When you look at, I don't want to, executive directors of these bodies
to be bigger than the ministers who account to the taxpayer.
Drivers, there is a way they earn.
There is cheating.
So
this is cheating.
Saying, I don't want to call it cheating.
Yes.
I want to call it cheating, but that is the framework. So when we are to remove a number of them and take them there,
yes,
no doubt it will save money.
Exactly.
No doubt for the Ugandans. That, not the 1 trillion.
It will reach.
Maybe. Maybe. But the fear is that when you do away with specialization, how are you going to be able to perform this role when in UDCA you've been having more staff concentrating on more things concerning coffee specifically, and here you're going to chop the staff? That is first and foremost. You're going to chop the staff, and you're taking a few in a ministry where you're not going to increase more staff because you want to cut the cost of production.
Now, that's where you said we call a spade a spade. Why should we have 3 people doing the same job but earning different, they are redundant manpower? If you remember, Minister of Agriculture has also some specialized staff on the same mandate.
Yes.
So that's where now we have to push some people out of government to make sure that they go into the private sector and build it. So too is that we need to also appreciate that government is very expensive for the taxpayer. For example, the many districts let us be holistically. If Mosei Museveni is saying we need to rationalize here, it should be holistic in nature. And so you people who have been crying for districts, you're also coming for your share. You people who are coming here they call it KCCA, Kampala Capital City Authority, who have been getting high salaries all the years, but we are still in potholes. I think also we need to rationalize within Kampala Capital City and find a way how this Manyaka Ministry of Urban Development, what are you doing with these potholes? Musei also need to put up a whip so that people do not see that there is what we call clandestine and kusosora. Let the rain on everybody, and we reorganize government so that we save more than 5 trillion Uganda shillings. Those monies could go to actually improve educational sector, could go to building our hospitals, could go to even improve coffee quality production and marketing around the globe. But these are the answers to my thoughts, what I think should be done, the win-win basically, so that in this world we no longer have a loser and a winner. We need to understand that when something good comes, we need to embrace it, whether you're in NUP or FDC or DP or you are which religion or which tribe.
So you want to attribute the current controversies surrounding this merger to lack of information?
Lack of information. Actually, it is a lack of, because abantu batambula tebamanyi kigenda mu maaso. They think it is only happening in Uganda. You go to Brazil, I was in Brazil. The coffee industry is no joking area. You don't joke with the coffee of Brazil. That's why it's always hitting billions of dollars at the world market. Even when we have a better product, naye olabanga engeri gye bakikwasaganya buli omu ategeera. Even the opposition in Brazil say yes, the president is right because we are going to lose the market. All of you farmers rally behind this policy and we make money. Naye wano abantu abatategeera even what the standard of coffee they want worldwide, they don't know. They do not know. But let me just give them a piece of advice. One is that whether coffee sector is under UCDA, Uganda Coffee Development Authority, or the mother ministry, Ministry of Agriculture, all the two are okay. But the merger is also okay. But none of the two will be important if the following are not there. One is negotiating a better price. Kubanga y'omulimi ayagala kasente. We have land in the country whose utilization is still in question. This redundant land everywhere. People are planting coffee in a poor way. The harvesting processes are poor. The value chain management is poor. So we need to find a way.
And how is this merger going to make it better?
Exactly.
Because if you say it's poor, and we've seen UCDA, personally, I know friends who are in coffee and deeply so in coffee business. But at least I've been able to see officials from Uganda Coffee Development Authority guiding them. I know places where we've looked for extension workers of ministry and they're hard to find. But you could easily get Uganda Coffee Development officers, even when you needed technical advice and all that. Because we must accept, fellow Ugandans, that government of Uganda has done much. However, with the public servants, because with these agencies, they have targets. There is supervision and monitoring at its best most of the times. Maybe compared to the ministries.
Now,
so, how better can this improve what we have to avoid waking up and saying we used to get 6.8 million bags and we've gone back to 4.2?
In the njagala tukobe migwe government where they have gone wrong. When the government ministry goes wrong, it becomes accountable. So the thing is, whether merger or not merger, the issue is that merger helping us, helping the farmer improve on the 3 areas I have just mentioned, because they are the determinants of a better price at the world market, which the farmer will end up getting. Kubanga nkugambi, kilo ya mwanyi Rebecca Coffee erina okuba mu mitwalo 10. But Ugandans here are cheated because they are ignorant, because they don't know what type of quality is the American coffee the promoter want. They want a certain type of which is looking like this. For you are producing which is like this. So the role of government now under the ministry is that this farmer to know into why it is not for Ugandan consumption, it is for an American consumption. This is the quality the American want, for you to get 100,000 per kilo, so that you enter the middle income economy. Ekyo maja bwebange kikozi kiri okay. So abalekana abevuma ku street ne twekalakasa ne twekuba engumi. The merger, because Uganda Coffee Development Authority is still a ministry agent, it is a department. Now bagikomyawo nze ekyo tukinkwasa Museveni amalaka nedda ekinkwasa amalaka Museveni tulwane bulungi nze sebo department eno wagizayo wali naye sebo ddala ebintu tunayambibwa kiro ebere ya mitwalo 10 ekyo yendibadde issue. Ekyokubiri sebo ku point yange training.
It is an English show.
Okay. The training, government has not done well on training. Training, capacity building. For example, abasajja baleeta amasimu gano sebo naye eri mu South Korea, mu America
Kamburo ojja kummenya.
Okay.
I just want to remind
manyi Buganda
it is an English show.
Kabaka yanyonoona Oluganda luno ne lunyingira nnyo naye let me talk in English now.
You go slow, use English.
The thing is, we have introduced these things to Ugandans before orientation, before capacity building. So that you have smartphones, for example, but you need to orient people on what they are, what the work they have come to do, and how they can help you become a billionaire. Now, because of lack of information, lack of training, people are using it to promote insecurity, rumor mongering, conflicts. But in countries that have advanced knowing how projects are done, you first organize trainings. Village to tell the Ugandans that coffee is this community.
And do you see capacity of a ministry to do that?
Yes, the ministry has capacity. Why? Because right now the type of capacity we need is no longer the capacity of 3 years
You're a diplomat, according to when I look at your introductory remarks.
Yes.
And Uganda as a government, we are a signatory to an international convention that requires all members of that. I want to test you which one is this, that their budget, at least 15%, should go to agriculture.
The Maputo Declaration.
Till now, we've not even made 10% of our budget into agriculture.
Yes. Now, many countries...
And this is where you're assuring us.
Many countries are having that challenge because of our dependency, my brother. African 54 nations are still depending on the Muzungu on donations. So for me...
But this is about your budget, getting your priorities.
Exactly.
And saying maybe it won't go, I'm happy, this time went to human capital development.
Exactly.
For many times we've been having defense, infrastructure and all that. But here we are saying we have a commitment that if this percentage of our little budget, however little it is, goes to the agriculture sector, because we say agriculture is our backbone.
Exactly.
But you're talking of agriculture being your backbone when 99% of the population is depending on rainfall-fed agriculture. Now what happens? All farmers are now planting. Then guess, all of us, our produce will be ready at the same time. We don't have enough value addition, despite government having made some tremendous improvement in value addition and processing and all that. But we still have these challenges. And now, one would wonder, these could look for even funding, writing proposals here and there on a specific produce.
The challenge is, my brother, with Ugandans, I want to share with you that working with other governments around the globe, they no longer want government departments. I am actually a vivid example that when South Korea want to support Uganda in even anything, they want to see a minister signing a document, committing controls and sustainability frameworks. Now you find that if we are dealing with other countries around the globe in terms of coffee development and also to attract good prices, we need to actually reinforce our laws to make sure that ministries and the ministers take accountability to make sure that they are own, like they are leading their ministries, like giants, so that when we are beating government, it is no longer parliament asking, where is the director of UCDA? No, the minister is there, whip him. He's the minister. Now, these days you are in parliament, you see a minister trying to escape responsibility and saying, oh, why? I think you better call the chief executive office of UCDA or KCCA executive director. No! In good governance, when resources keep shrinking and the budgets are coming down and the global challenges are mounting, you now redesign your government to suit the challenge. So this is the time, for example, to make a law, which I have read the bill, but also the bill has issues. I am not seeing this component of where government is taking ownership of training mandate to harvesting and value chain management. Those 21st century regulations and frameworks are targeting outputs. So if you want to say your child wants to grow well, you don't just say to grow well. You must put grow well by giving him or her a balanced diet. So even the law that is making us fight is not yet incomplete, just like the old law. Now matching with the global economics, we need to do what we call benchmarking. Kubanga, this coffee is not consumed by me and you. So we need to know what type of laws are those colonialists. Because this is a colonial product from 1901, 1903. There was also a war around the same up to today. So, and two, how do you fight over a crop which you are not consuming in your country? What about the gold you're producing here, still exported in raw form? So we need to go into that. The law must provide a framework that will put aside certain billions of dollars to actually put 100% value chain components, because coffee has many value chains. Husks can be used for fertilizers. It goes to the second component of medicine.
No doubt, to cut a long story short,
Yes,
no doubt there is so much we can get out of our coffee, and for a long time we've not been exporting a fine product. But unfortunately, I have to let Milton go because Ruben must come in with sports updates. I just want to give you a minute, please, and a minute for your parting shot.
I want to say that amidst all these that we have said, is that Uganda is the most beautiful, most fertile place in the whole world. So I want to tell Ugandans that please, I beg you, we should remain peaceful and respecting each other when we are discussing, and always take the best options, alternatives that benefit all of us, so that there is no loser, there is no winner, but all of us winners in the component of transforming the country. But lastly, is that politics must be politics of uniting and transforming the country. So any debate that we have on any matter should be on the context that is bringing peace and prosperity for all of us, not one tribe, one religion, one over the young against the elders. So
it should be about peace.
It should
thank
be
you
about
so much,
peace.
Milton Kambura.
I thank you. May God bless you.
Global Peace Ambassador. We've been discussing that is the National Coffee Amendment Bill, and of course the various controversies surrounding this. One thing that is important is government has intentions to cut expenditure, but also fight duplication of resources, and Milton added also to fight corruption. Now, may we all encourage ourselves to research, to read and understand more the content of this bill, and also find out that if rationalization is there, it must be good for Ugandans. Coffee is livelihood for many people. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, sir.